Get this going.
Sweet.
Come on. Waiting for Instagram.
Instagram, we're good.
There it is. Live. All right, we're good.
I just, right there at the drop of the bell, John got on, our friend over in the timing and scoring department.
Oh, yeah.
He just sent me a message. I'll be watching and correcting your timing and scoring stuff.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, John, we're going to be talking about you. You better get prepared for that one. But the pressure's on. All right, guys. Well, we are here. We have a special guest for the first time ever. This is our first time doing we've had friends on here from the other NASCAR clubs that we have, but this is our first one. He is actually a pit crew member. We'll introduce him here in a second. But we are excited. Alpha Men Podcast. What's up? We're excited for today. We're going to have a great time. Excuse me if I'm looking back up and down. It's the first time using a new camera, but Kansas.
What a race.
What a race and what a finale. I cannot wait to dive into this one. So let's roll it and get going.
Yeah, I wasn't going to cut you off for the special intro.
I was waiting. I'm like, he's going to do it. Any freaking
start your engine!
Wow. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know why he decides to jump in front of cars instead of around them, but we got Brandon Henry here. Welcome to the show, sir.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, somebody's got to do
it. Take one for the team.
Yeah, that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah.
Take one for the team.
Coming too quick, so you thought being a speed bump was the best course of action there, I guess.
Well, I mean, if somebody wasn't there to stop the truck, who was gonna protect the 38 guys?
Exactly.
This is true. So why don't you tell us? Let's start off, obviously, with that, because I mean, I think that was insane watching on TV. Let's start off with your perspective when you realized that you were about to be in the truck instead of beside the truck.
For an ornament.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Almost kind of surreal because I go back and look at Fox Sports. The only angle that they had of it made it look so goofy because it's funny because this plays a lot into how fans react to just general racing just incidents in general now, right? Because you can take something and slow it down so much that it's all hindsight for the fans. So the fans gonna sit there and be like, why did so-and-so make that move or do this? They could have done that just as easily. And it's the same thing with getting hit like that, is that it happens so fast that in hindsight, it's okay. Yeah, I could have done this or I could have done that. But I mean, you got to think in the heat of the moment, it's just another routine pit stop for us. So, excuse me. And I was actually working with my boss. My boss was my tire carrier this weekend, and the jackman is my normal jackman. He has a decade of experience. So these guys, as soon as the radio communication had a lot to do with it. So
gotcha.
I kind of zoned out the radio communication, which I don't normally do, but it was announced a couple times that, hey, man, you're going to miss it. We're right here. You're going to miss it. And I just didn't hear that. Everybody else did. So they took that first couple steps off the wall and held up. And I didn't, because typically my goal is I have to overshoot the car anyway. So in my mind, I'm thinking, even if he does swing it wide here, he'll nose in and I'll clear him. So about the time I realized it was too late where I wouldn't be able to clear him, I kind of double stepped and then planted my feet. And that's when all the jokes rolled in on Twitter, where I was getting roasted for trying to stop the truck. and so I like that. y'all had the first person view there, because it shows how fast it actually happened, and it's not like it was shown on TV where I had all this time to think about it,
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that I got into position right before he hit me where I could unplant my feet and get them off the ground. That way he didn't break my knees or something if when he did hit. And that's kind of like the one thing that's, preached on pit road, is that if you're going to get hit, you better jump, because that's going to minimize the damage. The thing is, when I jumped, I gave it a bit of I almost leaned over the front of the truck when I jumped to make sure my legs were going to clear, and he just caught me in the ribs and maybe on my right thigh. And when it spun me around, I landed on my tailbone, and it's tough because, well, I didn't really land on my tailbone. So I just got my x-rays back. I spent today doing x-rays and getting my body looked at just to make sure everything was in order. And let's see if I can pull it up. I can't remember the word. I was diagnosed with spinal retrolithesis, which is where the vertebrae actually slide back on each other on those discs. And so when I landed, the way it was explained to me is because my back was arched in a fashion. When I landed, it forced everything to move back. So it's not something that's going to be like this detriment, to my career or anything.
Yeah.
But it could potentially pose some issues down the road. So we're going to make sure I'm going to be undergoing a lot of physical therapy for the next couple of weeks, but I will be, back at work tomorrow. I'll be at practice and workouts and the track this coming weekend. So not too worried about that, but have to, thought Marines didn't get hurt. I wish that were true. So I'm also coughing a lot because I just got over being sick. Well, obviously I'm not over it yet, but
yeah, you've had a heck of a little bit of time here, I think.
It's been a rough week.
I don't really think I can complain much about you, Andy.
What's that?
I don't think I can complain much. Man got hit by a car and got over the flu at the same time.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then we're like awesome enough to get him on the show. Like, no more interviews, just us. So we appreciate you reaching out and getting on here with us.
Of course, definitely. I'm happy to come on and talk about it. It's when I was younger, the reason I do these things is because when I was younger and I was a young race fan, I wish that I had the kind of access that we have now.
Oh yeah.
I had the race on the weekends, and then I had my NASCAR Thunder on PlayStation during the week. Like that's what we had, So I don't recall if there was a Race Hub-esque, show or anything during the week. I don't really remember. Oh, hey, John. I thought I recognized the username there.
Yeah, good old John.
Yeah, I love John. He's awesome. But yeah, so the access, I wish that we did more like this on a larger scale. And of course, you get a lot of it like for the Cup Series, sure, but we won't even dive into that. I mean, the lower series are so underappreciated, and it's not as bad as it used to be.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there were times when I wasn't even aware the other series existed. So it's better than it used to be for sure. But
yeah,
those guys don't get the credit they deserve, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's funny because we know it because obviously Andy with Kyle was with Jimmy Johnson forever, but he was also on the pit crew for Justin. I was telling I texted you, I was like, yeah, our other buddy got hit by a car too. Apparently no one else. Your ability to get hit by a car much higher. Sorry. But they're using Cup team pit crews on a lot of these Xfinity teams too, and no one really knows it. I don't think the pit crew did enough love out there. Honestly, I think Fox is trying to do better this year by bringing you the pit crew, doing the interviews that they do. But I agree with you. Truck Series and Xfinity Series is kind of already behind the hill, and then on top of that, you take the pit crews that already don't get enough. and you put it all into that as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate appreciate all the love they gave me Saturday night, because yeah, that was. I mean, of course, that brings eyeballs, so I know what that was really about. But it was kind of cool to, I don't know, come back and actually have these people that matter, that are kind of normally just kind of walk past you. There, all of a sudden they care, So, but yeah, well, not gonna badmouth any of them. They're all real nice people, especially Bob. Bob Pockers. He
Good old Bob.
he made sure he asked, and it was when he initially asked me if I was all right, it was off the record, it wasn't like scribbling into a notepad, so
Yeah,
like actually cared.
yeah.
And that's the thing. Like Bob, I think Bob really cares ultimately about the sport. Like we see Bob whenever we're walking around doing our stuff, but he actually just cares about the sport, and that's what I think makes him so great at what he does. He only wants to see that succeed.
Yep.
So in that situation, was that the final pit stop of the race for you, or did the team?
Hell no, that was the very first pit stop.
So what they have to do? What they have to do? Did they? Because you had to sit out the rest of the race, I'm assuming.
I did.
Did they bring somebody else in from a different team, or being like a lesser? I guess Nice would be a lesser funded team. But who did they go for?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, so within our organization, we have contingency plans in case this happens. Just like any other organization, we have backup guys and backup plans. But for that following stop, until we put that plan into play, the rear changer on the 38 actually was a good friend of mine as well. He came over and took my spot for one stop, and after the plan was in place, we had a replacement, and he just picked up my gun and went to work, and he did a good job. So I appreciate him. I think he actually also does work for Josh Rayum at the shop. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, there's a lot of memes.
So they got the memes right. I made sure that whenever I did that little cut clip that I put in the TikTok video, that it was right whenever you had to hug the truck. I had to make sure that I paused it right there at that moment.
There's a lot of good memes.
What's up, Dakota? This David earlier. What's up, David?
Yeah, boring race.
Boring race. But so the big thing for us is that we like to show behind the scenes and the stuff. I mean, obviously you came and you got to see the bus at Darlington, I think is when you stayed with us.
Yep, Darlington.
And I mean, that was a great time. Darlington's always a freaking riot. But we love showing behind the scenes, and being able to talk to you not only about obviously what transpired here with you deciding to meet the truck in a love-hate relationship, but what got you started? Where did you go? Man, I want to be on a NASCAR pit crew.
Well, I guess if you wanted to take it all the way back to the beginning, it'd be the spring Talladega race in '99. I was a child, of course. I was 6 years old. Went to my first race. My father took me to my first race, and so I got to go down to pit road and walk pit road with him. But I didn't get to see any drivers. The first people in the sport that I met were Jeff Gordon's pit crew in '99, and I thought that was cool. Now I have this Jeff Gordon hat. It's got pit crew signatures all over it, but no Jeff Gordon signature. Actually, to this day, I don't think I've even met Jeff. But so I thought that was the highlight, because it was my first time really experiencing that side of things. I had seen it on TV as a child, but that first time, you don't ever beat the first time, So from that point, from '99, I think, I remember it was the Square D 55 Chevrolet that won that Cup race. I can't remember if it was Bobby Hamilton Jr. I think it was.
I think it's Bobby. Yeah,
I think it was Bobby Hamilton, and he won that race. And it's actually kind of funny how this is all Lane Riggs. Lane's father, Scott, he was the first race car I ever saw, which is this same day. It was the Busch car, I believe he drove, the Nesquik number 10 something. Mm-hmm. That was Scott Riggs' car. So now here we are talking about an incident that took place right behind his son's truck, however many years later. wild, but full circle, right? Small world.
Yeah.
But that's how cool this sport is, because everything's so connected, and you piece these things like this get pieced together all the time, and we're like, oh, that's cool. How could that ever happen? But it happens constantly, So those cool little coincidence. But so fast forward, I had gone to all of the Talladega races up until I left high school to go into the military, and I didn't attend a race for 4 years because I was doing my job.
Yeah.
Well, I left the Marine Corps and I kind of lost my way for a little while. I was I got caught up in a lot of things that there's this rut that you fall in when you leave the Marine Corps, or something that brings that I guess purpose to your life, that pride of belonging. All of that goes away, that teamwork, the camaraderie, that you no longer have any of that. And so here I am working a pretty much go nowhere job for about a year or so. And eventually I kind of had enough of it. I was like, I'm not going to sit around and just wait to become another statistic where I either become, so depressed I don't want to live my life, like a lot of veterans have to struggle with, or I end up working a go nowhere job for the rest of my life and be miserable and be like, what did I even sacrifice all that time for? And I refuse to be that statistic. So maybe it's time to think about doing something meaningful again. And I was like, well, what I have to love it though is the thing, is that I have a lot of respect for people that can work 9-to-5 jobs, because I can't do it. I don't have the capability. I cannot thrive in an environment like that. And for those people that can, hats off to them, because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I have to love it, or I'm never going to go anywhere. Because when it comes to a dead end job, I am the laziest person, and my hard work comes out when I love it. So I have to, sorry, some of the comments are catching my attention here, but yeah, like exactly just like that. You struggle when you leave that pride behind, and you have to get out and go find it again. And so that, I've partnered with a lot of pro veteran organizations in the past that help veterans out with that, because I've always tried to use this platform and my job to try to help, because I know it helps me. Because everybody has their struggles, but I've found that purpose again, here. And I wish more veterans would reach out and try to get into our sport, because we can use a lot more of these people that need that high pressure environment to thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we got sidetracked like 4 times there, but
you're good. No, I mean, that's awesome. I have a stepbrother that came out of the Marines, and he did the same thing. He does computer programming now, and it's weird because he's like, I was like, how can you balance going from one to the other? And like, he does a bunch of stuff on the side, and that's where he gets a lot of stuff out, and then he goes and does the computer stuff, but he does it from home. He doesn't have to do it in an office, because he said if you had to try to do something in an office, it ain't happening.
No chance. Yep.
Yeah. And then I got an uncle. He's medically retired. He's gotten blown up a couple times, so that's his problem. And he's about the same way. He does all kinds of stuff. He can't stand still. He's got to find something demanding on him. But it's great to hear that story, because I mean, I'm glad that you came from that and came out of it, because we've lost too many people over these years to just getting in those ruts, getting in their own heads. I mean, even David here said, hit the nail on the head. I don't have any of that experience, but I've seen it from other people. So, glad you pulled through.
And I mean, to put it in perspective, I deployed to Afghanistan in 2014, and we were there for 7 to 9 to 10 months, depending on which company you were with within my battalion. Yeah. And we had a lot of really good, really efficient, solid Marines that were good at their job when we were there. We had 0 fatal casualties while we were there. we had a couple guys get hurt. It was not uncommon to get blown up on a Wednesday, but we didn't have any fatal casualties. And to put that in perspective, so that's a place you expect death to happen. You come back to the States, and it's now 2024. It's been 10 years since, and we've lost 9 Marines since then to suicide. So just to look at that statistic and those numbers there and be like, all these guys did what they had to do to survive there, and they come home, and at some point in time, these 9 guys decided they would rather not live than wake up the next morning, and that's never sat well with me. Yeah. So the fact that I have this opportunity to be here is a blessing. It really is. And so I need to start, upping it back, cranking it back up again, and trying to put more effort into it, because I have relaxed off of that a lot. And like John points out, the whole, he's in a lot of partnerships with these organizations as well. Yeah. And I'm going to start getting back into it, because it's been a lot of business, especially this season. I've never been performing on the stage that I have up until this year. So these pit stops, every single one is extremely important now. It's no longer just doing it for fun. So we're talking about playoff runs, we're talking about wins, and so that's now really important. So hopefully we can, as an organization, not even just me, as an organization, hopefully we can start doing more things like that again.
What does I know like NASCAR does a pretty good job as far as like celebrating, Coke 600, Memorial Day weekend, and everything they do for it. What does being a veteran and everything, what does that mean as far as the outreach that NASCAR does, like their family, how they reach out and celebrate that whole weekend? We're coming up to the 600 in just a couple weeks, so I feel like that's probably a pretty emotional, weighs heavy. Like you said, going back to losing friends and everything. I feel like that's probably going to be a tough weekend in some regards.
In some regards, yeah, but they do such a good job with. If you've ever been to the Coke 600, then you know that it's a long and sometimes not very exciting race, right? But the first race I went to that was not Talladega was the Coke 600, and I just swelled. It was incredible to be there and to see the coalition of the different branches putting forth their little bit to contribute to the show, and to see the helicopters and the halo jumpers and the flags and all the military that have been allowed to come in and walk around the stands. It's a whole different atmosphere, and it kind of brings me back to that camaraderie, that pride of belonging. It's like, and there it's not even just, they don't even put them so much on a pedestal. It's kind of like the military and the fans they're all just one. It's just one big sea of everyone's happy and everyone's having a good time, and for it all to be so naturally highlighted, and the spectacle of it all is really, really cool. And it's a different experience. It's really different, and I personally I can't wait here for a couple weeks to see it again, because that's one of those that I don't care if I'm going to be sitting here for 5 hours on my tail watching them go in circles, because just the pre-race alone makes up for it. And then of course you have the paint schemes, the fireworks, jets, helicopters. Like it's really, really cool. So a lot of the stuff that you take for granted when you're in the military, I guess this is more me speaking to the veterans that are like, yeah, that's what I want to see is more military, but it's different because
we'll see you there.
Well, what?
Talking about Whiskey saying I'll be there in the racing control. We'll see there. We'll make sure that you make the right calls these times, sir.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, I hope more veterans get out get out to those races, because they do highlight the veterans in the stands as well, which is another cool point. Because man, there are some that first 600 I went to, there was a World War II veteran that was sitting up there in a wheelchair, at high 90s, just out there enjoying it, having a good time, and you love to see that. You love to see that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that is one of my favorite races. There's just the atmosphere is different when it comes to the 600. And like I said, it's a very long race. I can't say that there's not times where we go down into the bus and kind of cool off real quick and then come back up. The whole weekend overall is just one of the best.
It's endurance.
Yeah.
It's just crazy from the start to the finish. I just enjoy it so much. Can't wait to be back there. Obviously, we'll be back. You're welcome on the bus anytime. We got some changes that we're making to the bus when it comes to the deck. We got the stuff for it. Andy's diligently got the metal. He's the welder, because if I weld it, we're all falling off.
So me too. I feel that.
Yeah. We're trusting him to do all
Putting
that.
a lot of pressure on me now, aren't you?
So if anything breaks,
it's his fault. Yep.
All right. Well, let's move into the racing action itself. I mean, obviously, we had a Kansas. I mean, it's been one of the most phenomenal mile and a half. Now, obviously, mile and a halfs for NASCAR.
Hi, Mom.
But, yeah.
You're famous.
You still haven't came by. That's your fault. I keep inviting you.
I don't understand that.
Every single time.
Yep.
But mile and a halfs are definitely there for NASCAR, and it's been one of the better tracks for this next gen, while short tracks and road courses, not so much. But how was the don't work part-time hours like pit crews?
Jesus.
Don't
Getting out of hand here now.
Okay. So how's it watching the race from the pits, obviously, versus watching it from, the stands or on the bus and stuff? Because, I think that's always interesting. I go down when we get pit passes every once in a while. I'll go down and spend some time there, but I don't spend a lot of time on pit road.
I mean, obviously it's a different atmosphere, and it also changes from race to race. So as a pit crewman, you have to be in tune with what's going on around your car, and not just what's going on around your car, but who is where around your car. Where are those people pitting? Are they pitting near you? What's their pit strategy looking like? If you dive down pit road, are they going to follow you? You have to who's pitting that car. We have to know things like that. And on top of all that, you want to know the general scope of what's going on too, because the crew chief, what am I trying to say? Being the brains on top of the pit box, you just like amongst the pit crew, you have a chemistry with your crew chief and a chemistry with your road crew and the guys behind the wall, and you begin to learn how the guys work, and it gets to a point where if the caution flies, 9 times out of 10, I know what my crew chief's going to do now. Now that takes dedication and studying and just paying attention to your crew chief and his calls and his temperaments, and your driver as well. Your chemistry with the driver is very important. And when these little mistakes like this past weekend can really mess things up, and a lot of that can be smoothed over with things like chemistry. And because this is not bad mouthing anybody or anything like that, but you don't see this sort of stuff happen on Saturdays between our pit crew and like Jeremy Clements. And that's just experience. I mean, Jeremy's been around for a very long time. He can make up a lot of that. If there's a lack of chemistry, experience can make up for some of that. And that's something that, we're getting off topic again, but that's something that Lawless will have to learn. And, there's no negative, despite social media, there's no negative feelings between Lawless and I. He's just, he is who he is. He's learning, and he's constantly learning. And I would be a hypocrite to sit here and act like I get everything right every time. and don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if I go and put 2 lug nuts on a car, it could get him killed.
Yeah.
And it's no different than him not realizing, 2 stalls are switched on his dash. His little cheat sheet. Nope, there's no difference there. So I don't lay any fault on him at all. But back to the topic. It's a whole different ballgame watching on pit road. So
Yeah.
fans, the great thing about there being VIP programs is that we, as teams, get to bring in some fans, and they get radios, they can listen into the team, and they get to see that side. And I wish NASCAR made that more accessible. Like if it were purchasable, that's even a word, by the general fan, then I think that would be chaotic, actually. But if you could sit on pit row with a scanner, tuned to your favorite team, I don't know if you can buy hot passes anymore.
You can't.
Can you?
You have to. So you have to know someone or sponsorships, things like that. You can buy a sponsor. There's like a couple. There's a
like raceDaySponsor.com or something like that. But
see, that's dumb.
But
like
it's not
for
like
a Cup Series car, it's like $5,000 at least, I think, just to to do that. Just it's inaccessible for a lot of people.
That's really dumb. So they're taking one of the coolest experiences at the racetrack and tossing it out the window. So that's cool. And they could definitely make money doing that. Yeah, of course, a lot of my buddies are probably going to be irritated with that response because they want as few fans in our way while we're trying to work as possible. But as a fan myself, it's that's a level of accessibility that I feel like needs to be opened back up to the public because seeing it on pit road, like I said, is a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to go down a couple times, and Whiskey just said you can't buy or sell them, and they cracked down. That one dude got a humongous fine.
Yeah,
but that was
let's find them instead of making it accessible, so we can make more money.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those things that was always the dream of mine when we started this, was to be able to get down to pit road. I'm not going to say there might have not been a couple times where I may or may not have found my way to pit road. May or may not, but at that point I can't enjoy it because the entire time I may or may not have been looking around trying to make sure that I'm not getting in trouble, kicked out or anything like that. So when me and Andy got the opportunity to do it for the first time, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing. You see things behind the scenes, watching a pit stop happen in real life. It's just really cool because it takes a bunch of mechanics, and if you appreciate how complex this sport is, watching a pit crew from watching on TV is cool, but watching it literally 20 feet from where it's happening, that was just amazing. The mechanics, the skill, and being able to synchronize an entire team around to make it that quick was just insane to me. So definitely some of the best things. I'll keep these. I got the project. I'll keep adding to them as we get lucky enough for it, and I hope to share it with people. That's why I do a lot of lives when we're in the pits, because you don't get to see it nowadays. You used to buy the hot passes like you were talking about, or cold passes. Now you can't. So if I can show some people what it's like behind the scenes, that's giving them that access that I think is going to grow more fans in the future, in my opinion.
Agreed. That's not even an opinion. That's just straight facts.
Yeah.
But actually, to answer that question right there, off of what you just said, is the cohesion, the making an adjustment to the race car in a quick fashion. So, I guess to answer that, we'll answer that with this. So during the week, you have, I guess it would change from organization to organization exactly what the schedule consists of, but you're going to have a review type day, a debrief type day, where you're going to sit around and you're going to look at film and you're going to watch it till you're sick of seeing it and stress out over every little thing you may or may not have messed up. And God forbid you had a penalty, jumped over the wall too soon, or didn't get lug nuts tight, or dumped the jack too early, so we had to come back, put a wheel back on or something. that's going to get hounded to death, and as it should, because like you look up and down Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, whenever a pit crew messes up, you would think the guys like brought the window net down and punched their driver in the face, because of the way everybody reacts is like, we're not allowed to make mistakes, right? So a driver can make 50 mistakes in a season and he'll still be driving the same car the next year.
Yeah.
We can make 2 mistakes in a race and be done.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. And so in order to do our jobs the way we need to, you're going to have that those points driven home, and when you mess up, you're going to be hounded and you're going to be roasted for it. But you're going to have those debrief days, you're going to have the review days, and then you're going to have workouts and practice at least 2 times, 2 days a week.
Gotcha.
Probably 3. Sometimes we do 3, especially if it's going to be like a local race, like Charlotte or Darlington or Martinsville, Bristol, even sometimes even like Talladega. You're going to have like 3, probably 3 solid practice and workout days, and you might get Thursday.
Where's this at? Where's the practice facility for this for y'all? Because I know some teams obviously have them built into their places, and then some people rent them out for teams to come in and practice. So where exactly do y'all practice at?
So ours is in-house at the shop in Mooresville, and we're actually right next door to Tyler Young's place. The 02 and 12 and 20 trucks. We're right next door to those guys, and that's where I actually work all week as my full-time job. But yeah, we'll maintain the pit cars and the workout equipment, and we recycle. We do everything from recycling lug nuts to rebuilding and maintaining pit guns and jacks. And yeah, it's a whole thing, because pit guns and jacks have gotten so complex and expensive, and the pit cars, you have to set them up per what we're going to be looking at generally at the track. Gotcha. Whereas, from a super speedway car that's going to be sealed to the ground and the right front shock might not droop enough. You want to set all that kind of stuff up before your practice. And so that we have that practice facility there, but we'll practice on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. We'll have our workouts on those days as well. And like I said, if it's a local track, we might even have a Thursday workout and practice as well.
Gotcha.
But that schedule during the week is a necessity for success on the weekends, because it takes every last second of that, those days, in order to learn how to make the adjustments to a race car, because it's very straightforward just to change 4 tires, put gas in it, and go. And we love those straight up fast stops. But where the real skill comes in is, can you piece back together a race car in accordance to the rules? If it's busted up, if it's broken, if it needs adjusting, can you adjust a race shock, without having to take a tire off, without having to call a guy over the wall to do it for you? That's where, God, I hate the DVP.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the dumbest rule NASCAR's ever come up with. I don't care. That's it.
I would agree.
But that's where the real skill from a pit crew shines. And
you definitely agree.
I think we lack that a lot. Not us as an organization, but NASCAR in general. Now it seems like there's a guy for everything, and I feel like changing that culture is really important. Bring back the pit crews that have the skill set to change a brake master cylinder if you have to, and not get clocked out in the DVP. Martinsville is a prime example. Understanding the rules, what you can and can't cut off the car, and not violate the rules and not break the car. I've seen a pit crew take a Sawzall and go straight through the radiator, trying to cut the bumper off, and that's it. Your day's over because you didn't know. So that making every last minute count of that weekly schedule is extremely important.
For sure. And, Whiskey says here, John, NASCAR made the rule based on drivers' owners' requests. This is yet another proof that drivers and owners are not always right.
Agreed. They actually screwed us at Daytona.
Yeah.
We at Daytona on the 51 car, we got caught in every wreck. We didn't cause a single wreck. I caught in every single wreck, and we just kept piecing the thing back together and getting it back out there. And on one of the accidents, well, we might have caused one. I don't remember, but on one of the accidents, the track bar bracket had bent just enough to allow some flex, and it was putting the left rear tire down, but we couldn't figure it out. So we got the car piece back together, put it back out there, left rear went down again. It comes back down pit road, can't see the problem, put another left rear on it, sit it back out there, and we couldn't make minimum speed, so they parked us. And, there's an argument to be made that it's arguably more dangerous to be constantly throwing the car back out on the track trying to make minimum speed because you don't want to get clocked out DVP than it would be if they would just give us the damn time to fix the car.
Yeah.
You think that's
I'd
probably the
agree with
safer
that.
option.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
But, whatever. Safety.
It doesn't make sense. You can go laps down, but they don't want you to go laps down. I don't the concept never really made sense to me. You take it to the garage, you go laps down, you can come back out. But
yeah,
you're on the DVP and you don't get in a certain time, you can't. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense as a fan side.
And it takes away the interesting storylines of points. Like you race to a regular season, championship for points and bonus points and everything. If you crash out and you hit DVP and you can't make it back out there, you lose the opportunity to make up 3 positions. Well, that's 3 points. So that can go a long way towards a regular season, and they're losing out on these storylines.
Yeah, so he said minimum speed equals DVP. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the thing that they have to be able – like cars do need to be able to reach a minimum speed. Keep that part. I have no problem there because obviously we don't want slow cars on the track. It's like driving down the highway.
No.
You don't want the slow car out there in the fast lane, right? So I get that.
Yeah, we still have that problem.
Yeah, it's South Carolina. We're always going to have that. North Carolina for you. But yeah, it's insane. But all right, well let's move on into full Kansas. Let's go to the Cup race. Let's talk about it. I'm sure. Did you get to watch the race with all your fun you were having?
I did not. I came home and I think trying to remember. I was so out of it, from the weekend and everything going on. I think we got back to the hotel after the truck race, slept like 2 hours, got on the plane, came home. So
gotcha.
I was resting, unfortunately, but I did see the highlights, and obviously, if you haven't seen the finish, you don't have a cell phone. So because it's everywhere.
Yeah, there was only one video that beat your video from the entire weekend, and that was the finish. And that's good.
Yeah.
You probably would have been on ESPN if not.
Yeah.
You might have already been on ESPN. I don't know.
Yeah, we're the backup plan. Thank Farson.
Yeah.
Well, and if we could talk about that for a second, because there's a lot of really cool stuff that happens every weekend that gets overseen.
Oh yeah.
And I get punted by a car, and it's this big thing, and it's funny because the same truck run over a buddy of mine last year and almost killed him, and it got zero attention. Almost killed him. He was in Homestead. And he was in Homestead for the next week, having his lungs patched up, his ribs put back together, and it got next to no attention. I thought that was kind of bizarre. It's very, very weird because my damage is minimal compared to that.
Well,
and
I think it's mainly because, in my opinion, I think it's because it was something that you could walk away from. It's kind of one of those things like we can joke about it because you walked away.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm glad there is I'm glad there is joking going on about it because it was I'm known in race control. Oh no.
They know you.
That's great news.
It's okay. The first time
hopefully
security
they
was
didn't hear
introduced to me as, oh, this is the guy that makes fun of us. I'm like, I only said one thing about security one time. Sorry.
That's okay. They make fun of me. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully they didn't hear what I had to say after they parked Josh Williams last year. I was spouting off pretty hard.
Well, and I like. I hope that even if they do, that it's status quo, because this is the personalities that make NASCAR interesting and fun outside of the race, when we're not just dealing with the one thing.
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of the big thing, is like we got to have personalities. We've talked about before. Drivers can't hide behind, oh well, yeah, racing incident, because they don't want to get fined. I mean, obviously Denny last year on his podcast getting that giant fine. So it's not just the people working; it's also the drivers themselves.
Oh yeah.
So I hope they see. I mean, even if they see any of our stuff, I know John said that they've seen our stuff a little bit before. And then obviously somebody saw our stuff, since we're doing the autograph zone with the Citrus Safe Cleaners autograph zone here at Cook 600. But it's going to be a great time. I hope that NASCAR just goes, all right, let's let them vent. That's more storylines for us. That's more exposure for us. So in the long run, it's better.
Agreed. Drama sells. Keep it going, you know.
Yeah, because we're not tied to the sport.
Yeah. We don't have NDAs.
Yeah, no NDA.
I can't say what
I know
I
you
want
do.
to feel. He says we can say what we want. So, not really. I mean, I still kind of do most of the time anyway, but there are some times if I was allowed to say what I wanted. Oh, speaking of which, SFI. I don't know why. Actually, I haven't seen this pop up as a topic in any podcast or so NASCAR mandated not too long ago the whole now pit crews have to wear like SFI rated gloves, right? And socks. I don't know why. We had a whole dude. No, we're not saying that. We had we had a whole guy on fire last year. Walk up to the fireman and get put out, and he didn't have any injuries. We come to Daytona and they're like, "Where's your SFI gloves?" Like, what are you talking about? I've got my normal gloves I always wear. No, you got to wear these big, burly, stiff, dumb mittens now, and still be able to do your job.
Were they
on
wet?
top of that, no,
Oh,
no, not wet.
asking for Joey.
Yeah, I hear that's illegal, but they gave us these big stupid gloves, and they said you have to go buy $90 socks to put on now, on top of the already laundry list of junk you got to wear underneath your fire suit, you know. And that's one thing I was extremely vocal on the track about, is that I know a couple of officials that aren't wearing SFI stuff on the regular, and I'm having to wear these big stupid mittens and try to do pit stops. And at Vegas, I actually lost my cool a little bit and took off said SFI gloves and tossed them over the fence to the fans after a stop, because I don't think I hit 5 lugs all day. I couldn't. It was impossible. Now we're finally getting around to being okay with them. But anyway, that was my rant. SFI, can't stand it. I'd rather burn.
Burn or be hit by a truck.
The fairness and race.
Get hit by a truck.
Yeah.
So far from Ray, trust me on this, the fairness in race controls as events happen will surprise you. It always comes down to the rules. Those guys up there keep it very fair. Yes, but the problem is when different people are making the call, it can skew when they make calls. We've seen it multiple times, obviously, with what's a caution, what's not a caution. That kind of comes up almost, it feels like, every single week, depending on what track you're at. And, you know, there's times where, you know, the Xfinity race that we were at for Dega, where the dude spun around and on the bottom of the track, just parked there. They don't call anything. It's just he's sitting there at the bottom of the track. And then finally he just, I guess, figures out that no one's doing anything for him. So he finally gets moving. But then earlier it was, as soon as the car stepped out, it was a caution. So it's not rigged, but there is some times where it's like, really? That's how
it's not rigged, but it's most definitely manipulated. And that's not just looking at race control. That's a lot of different things. And I feel like more often than not, the rigged decisions that come down from race control are more or less just coincidence. Like maybe they were like, all right, yeah, that should have been a caution, but we'll call it next time. And then they do, and it's like, well, why didn't you call it the first time? It's like, well, we saw it, but now we're calling it though.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just happens more often than not, and it just
It's a
comes
balls and strikes call.
Yeah, and I mean, fans you can make anything into anything, in hindsight. Like, oh, this is what they were trying to do. Like, well, really, what do you think race control is getting out of it, man? Honestly, you think they're getting a raise because Kyle Larson beats Busher by an inchworm? You think they're getting a raise?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, and then and I'll say I think the whole reason why Busher couldn't get fast enough for that last little bit is I mean his nuts were weighing him down, because I don't know if y'all I know you didn't get to see it, but that freaking restart where he split the middle and
I didn't see that.
Holy guacamole, that dude has to have a special seat made.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Well, I mean, there's that, and then Larson door slamming the hell out of him on the front stretch. I mean, there's that too. But yeah, I guess so. He might need to get his spinal cord checked after that.
No shit.
Yeah,
bro. Watching all that unfold was insane. I mean, we're sitting there, the entire race, stage one, phenomenal. I mean, watching the cars spread out but stay competitive and together at the same time was phenomenal. The racing, there was comers, there was goers, people were jockeying for position the entire race.
And the whole first stage, it was Larson and Chastain back and forth.
And so maybe I'm just out of touch here, but I want to know what the hell the difference is between last week and this week, besides the fact that it's geographically a different racetrack. Where last week it was, oh, well, we can't pass the 11 because I can't get anywhere close because whatever, aero blocking. And then we come to Kansas and it's like, well, now there's no aero blocking.
Yeah.
I was a little bit puzzled by that. Like I said, maybe I'm just out of the loop here, but I'm watching dudes pass each other 6-7 wide back and forth and huge runs. And then you go back and look at last week and it's couldn't even get close to the 11. Can't pass him because he's air blocking or whatever, right?
Yeah. You want 90% of it is? The tire. The tire wore out. If you saw the tires, they were cording. Over and over again, they were cording.
Oh, were they?
To no tire, yeah.
Wait, yesterday?
It was wearing out bad. Larson almost.
Oh, okay.
Because Larson got really lucky with the next to last caution or the very last one?
The green, white, checkered.
Yeah, the green, white, checker caution, because his right front was already corded at that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
That's another thing that's weird. What is Goodyear doing? I mean, we had that whole Bristol race, which, by the way, I thought was the funniest race I've ever seen in my life, and it was very entertaining. And people the guys just trying to panic just to get tires back on the car. I thought it was great. And you've seen like on an old NASCAR video game where the AI panics and half the field pits for no reason at the wrong time. And then you get down to the end of the race and there's like 70 cars a lap down and like two guys running by themselves. Mm-hmm. It's kind of how it felt. Like, watching it, and it was very entertaining. So we figured out that maybe it was too much, but tire wear definitely needed to be looked into, and then we just didn't do it.
I think that's part of the difference between what we saw last week at Dover and this week at Kansas was the tire wear. Now I don't know if it made a big enough difference for guys to have different lines and the aero blocking and everything, but Dover we didn't have the tire wear.
I hope they bring the same tire to Wilkesboro. I'll be so happy.
Will it happen again? Because the temp, I don't think we give enough. I think the temp of the actual track surface is a big player in this, because obviously they said they ran the same tire at Martinsville, right?
No.
What was it? They ran the same tire at a different track.
The Bristol tire?
The Bristol tire.
They're lying. I said it when y'all brought it up on the podcast before. They are lying. Because it was like, what do you tell the camera if the tire is just if they're saying it's your fault and the tire is a disaster? What do you say? Like, oh, get on there and tell them you already run it before and it was fine before.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what they did. Oh, it's the same tire as last year.
It's the same. We've already run it. No, you didn't. No,
I think there's a
Bristol
lot,
doesn't tear tires up that bad.
but I'm really
No.
hoping it goes. There has been a lot of talk now about should a mile and a half be the championship race, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against it.
At a mile and a half?
Yeah, mile and a half.
What? I mean, I feel like you have to, right? Like, because I mean, NASCAR is already getting a little too comfortable. There's already so many. There's already so many gimmicks. You know, if the mile and a half is the true test of how fast a car is, how skilled the driver is, and just all in all what product they brought to the track. If that's the tried and true best test, you have to. I think you can't go to Talladega as much as I would love the hell out of that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go to Talladega. You can't go to. You can't
Unless it was a championship round. Unless you had 3 races in a championship round, yeah, throw Talladega in there.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you had multiple rounds, sure. But again, going back to the gimmicky thing, we already have so many like different rules and stuff. If they came out tomorrow and said they're going to do a 3 race round, I'd probably just audibly sigh like, here we go again. We'll love it for a year, and then next year it'll be, oh, this is old, get rid of it. Like,
and NASCAR needs to play to the strength. If the best product right now is mile and a half, why is it taking so many years to get rid of a short track Phoenix at that? Which everyone has agreed that Phoenix is not a great racetrack. It just sells seats. That's the only problem. It sells seats, so it makes it hard. But Homestead, mile and a half, great track. I even think, I mean, Atlanta, it's obviously considered more of a super speedway. I still would enjoy Atlanta. Charlotte would be okay. Obviously, they got to keep it somewhere that it can be the temperament, because snow, storms, and all those issues kind of rule out.
Season.
Yeah, the seasons kind of hurt us there. But where else can we get it that makes sense? Because this was awesome. This race, watching it all the way down to the finish, the mile and a halves, they just keep getting better. Atlanta was phenomenal, even though it's super speedway style. I can't wait to see what the 600 is going to bring us.
I want to talk about what Chuck said. We've had 3 photo finishes this year in 2024. Yeah. Like that's incredible. Where, you know, the last, what was Atlanta? 3 1,000ths of a second. Texas, the Xfinity race was 2 1,000ths of a second. This was 1 1,000th of a second. Probably less than that, honestly.
We're gonna have a tie at Charlotte.
Yeah, that's probably what it's going to be.
It'll be a 4-2 because they can't win.
It's going to be between all 4 Hendrick cars.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be, the problem is going to be.
There's the script.
Yeah. He's released it. Got it. Put the bets on it.
Does Rick Hendrick or somebody have a birthday or something during the Charlotte race? Because then it's pretty much confirmed at that point.
I mean, the only logical thing is for Kyle to win the Indy 500 and the Coke 600.
So he's been involved in 2 of the 3, and each one of them have been very debated. Interesting. Okay. Not going to say anything. But, yeah. All right.
He painted the start-finish line.
Hey, can I just ask, like, do I need to bring my camera out there? Because that photo is absolute garbage.
Atrocious.
Just saying.
Also, how come according to the time and scoring loop, Larson won, but it put up Buescher first?
Well, let's talk about that, because we may or may not have an expert in the chat. So
I just think we need to get John on the show. That can answer.
I literally messaged him. We'd love to have him on the show at any point in time.
So Denny,
there you go. Let him get on it.
Yeah.
They said right now.
Boom.
Well, we're going to take care of this right now.
Hold on.
Was it Denny or was it?
Because I mean, we've always looked to the pylon if there's a photo finish.
Yeah,
you look to the pylon because that's where the scoring and that's where time and the scoring goes. Right. That's what I've always been told. And it says
that's what Denny said on his podcast today. He said when he won the Daytona 500 in 16 or whatever, that 3 wide finish, that he looked at the pylon after he crossed the line to see who finished where.
And then they put out this 140p ass looking pixelated picture and was like, this proves that. They just like took a Microsoft Paint and dragged and dropped a line and was like, that was the time in the scoring line.
Yeah,
that'll settle it.
That's the questionable part.
Because they could have just produced that damn picture.
Honestly, well,
I could make that on my phone.
I think they released that once they're like, oh, the start finish line was counted incorrectly.
Okay.
They got 3-year-olds out there drawing this. John's coming in. Hold on, boys.
The line was crooked. The line was more than crooked.
Hold on.
Yeah, what's
Apparently, it was in the wrong freaking place too.
All right, that should have sent. He should be getting it right now. All right. So before he gets on, I definitely want to talk about this real quick. What if we went to a football game and we said that the goal line was not the actual goal line?
We'd be NASCAR.
How just NASCAR. So please explain to me, how do you have all these rules, these regulations, all this money in this sport, yet man, that was quick.
I do this
There he
all
is.
the time. Can you hear me?
He's already set up and everything.
I do a
He's got
podcast
better setup than we
Got a
do.
mic and everything. What the
every
hell?
Tuesday night. I do a podcast.
Dude, that's awesome.
Well,
I'll just start joining in on that.
So that camera looks like they drew it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not an expert on the cameras, but that is my department. That's like
Get
a
better
million
cameras.
frames per second. So you could break down that thing to like a width of a hair
Uh-huh.
each frame. So when you see that picture, so those cars are really tiny on the screen.
Yeah.
They zoom it in, but there's lines. If you can zoom into that picture, you can see lines, like millions of lines, and they can move that car. So that picture looks like crap when you see it like on your guy's screen.
Yeah.
Like when they put it on social media, whatever. But that picture is crystal clear when they zoom in and they get it clear, but they can't get a clear shot of it. You can't print it off. You can't
Yeah.
take your phone. So
on
that's
the
why.
digital.
Yeah. So the picture you guys saw, like on what do you call it? On Fox.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one shooting down the track, and you
From
see
the
the
That was a TV camera.
that's just a TV regular camera.
Yeah.
It's a swivel camera. It sits right there. It's just a standard camera.
So
That one, go ahead.
why not have two of the high-speed cameras? Why not have
There
one on
is.
both sides?
No,
Why can't we see the photo of what
you can't have it downward.
Okay.
It's got to be a straight shot. So there's two cameras. There's a primary and a secondary.
Okay.
And they're same as at pit out. There's two at pit out, two high speed cameras.
Okay.
The primary does obviously the primary's job. The backup will back up the primaries if it fails. But
Gotcha.
trying to think, you guys listen to you guys so long. I'm trying to think of how it works. So that camera has to be a straight shot. So when the cars go by, that camera can zoom right into to an ant. You can see an ant on the track. That's how well those pictures come up.
Gotcha.
I have a question after you're done with this.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you're able to get down to an ant. So how is it that if I'm running 22nd at Xfinity race on Saturday and I crash, there's zero footage of said crash?
That's TV cameras.
That's Fox. That's Fox.
That's
Don't put that on, John.
So timing scoring, there's 4 cameras that we look at. Plus there's a pitting camera. There's like 6 cameras that we have at our access to use. The rest of them is all Fox. We don't use those.
Yeah,
We can see them.
you gotta give Fox access to some more cameras. Apparently.
If Fox was filming the podcast for me right now, this would be the shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of work people
Because
don't
you
realize.
showed
It'd
up
be side
late.
by side though with commercial screens.
Because you showed up late, you wouldn't even be on the screen. It would be audio.
That's exactly it.
If it's
So
not
now,
the top,
so you
Go ahead.
you mentioned the pylon.
Yeah.
So I was actually in the garage for this race for the first time since last July. I've been in the race control, so I was enjoying my freedom of being out in the garage and working. So it's literally the race ends. I look at the pylon to see who the top 5 are, so I can go get the transponders after they're done inspection. And I took a picture, started unpacking my stuff. I looked up again; it was changed. I was like, it was 17, I swear. I looked at my phone. I'm like, okay. I still didn't know what was going on yet with the finish.
Yeah.
I had no clue. Then I started hearing what was happening. So reason that triggered. So back to what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
When they both came across that track at nearly the same time, transponders come out like an umbrella, like a triangle. So the
Okay.
signal hits the track, the transponder goes by, and they're side by side. So two signals just both went at a fraction of a second. Those things fire off, and they both went side by side. And that pylon, it doesn't have time to differentiate 000 It's just gonna populate. So Boucher was just hit that fraction of a second quicker.
Yeah.
So that's why they show it 17 and 5. And they couldn't tell on race control. There's no way. I mean, I sit race control every week, and there's no way
Well,
you
on
could
top
say
of that, what they were saying is the line where the transponder, where the timing line is not concurrent with the finish line. It's actually behind it. So with the length of the car, it's not a true, when it marks, it's not a true actual finish. It's
exactly.
Yes.
So from the nose of that car to 14 feet, well, let's put it from that start finish line to where my scoring loop starts, because I have a primary and a backup. There's a primary on the line, right where the line you guys see it's crooked. There's the actual straight line, two lines, 15 inches apart, I think they are.
Mhm.
That's our loop. That's the backup.
Gotcha.
The primary is 14.2 back. So
Okay.
from the edge of that line, 14 feet 2 inches, which should be where the transponder is on the Gen 7 car, on all the cars pretty much. Trucks, those guys cheat and push their transponders forward, but we can fix that real quick.
No, we don't.
Yeah, they do. That's why we lose so many of those damn things, because you guys have them behind the tires. Well, I'm trying to make it. You know the ones on the back now. You have to put on the back of them.
Yeah.
That's me. That was me. He's sick of chasing them.
Oh, that's
So,
right. You're a nice guy.
So the 14.2 from that line to the back of the car. So technically, when that nose of that car touches that line, that transponder, that car should be the first place car, because that transponder is right there. And that when you're that close to a finish, that pylon is just going to fire off whatever signal it got first. If he was back like 3 or 4 inches, it would have shown 5, 17. But when you're side by side, that's where I have to go to the camera.
I guess my biggest gripe as watching it from the fan perspective, my biggest gripe is, why paint a line that is not an actual line? Like I said right before you jumped on, imagine watching a football game and someone crosses the line and they go, actually the touchdown is farther. It's not there yet, but he went down beforehand, so it's still 4th in inches. Why on earth are we paying this? And then I heard
the line's there for you.
Yeah, but
it's just for a visual concept, because back before time and scoring, before there was loops, it was just that was the first person. Somebody actually back in the day had to stand at that line, not the flagger. There was somebody under the flagger. It was called the catch. What was it? Catch box or whatever, where a guy usually a kid would stay there and go, "Oh, the 57 one." So,
but if nowadays lines mean everything, right? Because the line, when you talk outside of the start finish line, you have the restart zone. If you accelerate before the line, or unless you're Denny Hamlin, it's a penalty. If you wait till after the line, it's a penalty. If you enter pit road and you go too fast from line to line, it's a penalty. If you go below a line, it's a penalty. So
the lines at pit road are by speed.
Well, yeah, but the
if you
lines are at those, right?
There's loops at almost not every line.
Okay.
There's certain boxes, depends on the track.
Gotcha.
Charlotte's got, I don't know, like 27, whereas like Martinsville's got like 14 or 15.
Why have they never brought one of you guys on just to talk a little bit about this?
Because I'll probably get chewed out for this.
Well, why though?
I may not have a job next week. You never know.
We'll blur the face.
No, it's good. I'm not. There's nothing I can say. I don't know anything special.
Well,
I'm just from my experience.
Yeah, the thing is the transparency. This is what we need in NASCAR, is being able to talk and understand it. Because as a fan, whenever I watched it on this piece, even though I know a little bit about NASCAR, it didn't make any sense. Watching it was, all right, Buescher won, his team's celebrating, everything's great. Even whenever Larson's asking over the radio, did we win? They said no. He goes, okay. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, 10 seconds later, all of a sudden the Larson camp's erupting, and Buescher's camp is now just
so. they said no. I'm assuming. I mean, I didn't see it, but his Kyle Larson's crew said no because they looked at the pylon.
Yep.
So immediately, without going by detail, because I don't want to talk about the tower because it's not my place to. I work up there, but what's said in the tower stays in the tower. They never said that. It's just kind of what you kind of figure out in life.
Yeah.
But basically, what I know is when two cars go by or whatever, they instantly go to the camera. They have the chief scorers will have access to the camera. There's a camera operator in another truck, and they probably looked at that, zoomed in, drew the secondary line, which has I don't know if it's a red one or a blue one. I think it's a red one. Shows where his nose was just in front of Boucher's car. So that's how they do that in the scoring.
Yeah, because the first one I saw, the one I posted on the TikTok and Instagram video I made, there's a shadow and it makes the splitter of Larson's look larger than what it actually is. And Denny actually touched on that in Actions Detrimental. Sorry if someone hasn't watched or listened to it yet. But it makes sense for that. And that's why I was wondering, why can't we have that high-speed camera at both angles? It makes sense since it has to be a straight line. And now I'm piecing this together. I mean, obviously Andy over here is happy that it worked out the way it is, because not only did his driver
that's a single question, whatever we want.
he's fine with it. Kevin's racing.
I'm perfectly content. No. The question I have though is, so Cliff said on the radio to Larson, he was like, it's literally 000. It was 0.000. So do the transponders only go to the thousandth of the second? Do they go any further than that?
They probably could. I only see, the 2.000.
Yeah.
They probably do go further, but I think our systems are set up for, because you don't really get into that close of a fraction. I mean, that's nearly that's yes, it is.
We'll never see this. I'm not saying we'll never see it again. We'll see it next week, but I mean,
maybe there is capability of them going more. I don't know. I'm not an expert in those things at all. I know how they work, but I just know they come out as a triangle, and everybody thinks it's like a laser beam comes out. It's not. It's just a ride. It helps. The transponders really help to freeze the field guys.
Yeah.
Where they line up the cars.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember one time when you picked, I think it was Denny Hamlin was leading the race that one time, from the transponder. If you remember that one? No. The caution one, where he was actually allowed down, but he was scored as the lead lap, the one I gave you crap about last year.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So stuff like that happens up there, and you gotta figure out real quick. The chief scorers, they know their stuff. I mean, Kyle and those guys are phenomenal, and they keep me in check because I have the main system in front of me, so I have to move stuff real quick to make sure it's lined up, and I've screwed up. Oh, being too loud.
Storm's coming. Sweet.
Oh, it's a storm? I thought it was a baby.
I think that's probably over on Brandon's side for the baby. Mine's a little older now.
You're good now.
He's like, oh crap.
I guess not. You're good. Yeah. So back to the painting the line question. So every track's different, obviously. So the paint line, those guys come out there and paint the tracks. Every track has a different angle. Every track has, you go to Martinsville, it's nearly flat. You go
to hell with the guys who paint Martinsville. I have a permanent white splotch on my favorite Chevrolet jacket and pants because they wait until we have to bring the haulers in at like 2 a.m. and they start painting everything as we're trying to get stuff out onto the track to get loaded up onto the haulers. So all the walls are now freshly painted white and they just dip. So all of us are like pushing around pit boxes and stuff. And it's like, oh man, I'm tired leaning against a wall. Your whole back's white now.
Yep.
They just couldn't wait until we got loaded up and left.
Try set up scoring equipment and trying to jump over those walls to put TSUs out. Oh yeah, you'll have white work pants by the time you're done, or pink like I did a couple years ago in Charlotte. Had a pink watch.
I want to touch on that real quick. The guys that are painting those lines, do they have to communicate with timing and scoring at all as far as where everything's set up at to know where to paint, or does the track have that set up?
The track, I mean, I don't know this part as well. I know like there's advanced like I don't know. I can think of somebody who does it. Like Jesse, who'll go out. Oh, I said this died. You still hear me?
Yep. So here,
Um,
forgot to charge the headset.
I did. I forgot.
Rookie mistake.
There's somebody who goes out and coordinates with the track, and they measure. They take the rollers and measure everything. From loop to loop, line to line, and make sure it's all legit. And if something's not right for painting, I've seen them change it. I mean, there was on the news a few weeks ago. Whatever happened in what track it was where it said NAS ERR or whatever on the Xfinity.
Oh yeah. When they NASCAR.
NASCAR, yeah. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
Xfinity race.
So there's
I know
somebody goes out
exactly.
there. Yeah.
There's Kurt.
Texas, I think.
NASCAR.
So yeah, there's somebody again that goes out that's higher up in NASCAR that's in race control that is a
Gotcha.
coordinator that does that. So the line stuff, that's just it's for visual. It's
Operating
just
at a really low reading level.
I can't believe we can't. How do we say it's visual? When every sport and every other line has importance, and then this line, the one that fans use to go, this is my winner and this is my loser, just off visual. And I get it's just a visual thing. They talked about the Kentucky Derby, how it doesn't have a line.
Yep.
But if you have a start finish line, how is it not the start finish line? I feel like if you have that camera that can draw those lines, you know where that line is. How can we not communicate that to our painters to then paint that?
Well, here's another question though too. Like, so the Atlanta race this year, the 3 wide finish, super close finish. If you look at the start finish line, it's the checkered start finish line with the yellow line directly down the center. I mean, I don't know, like that.
So that
like how
so
do you
on that line? Let me look at. I'll bring it up on my screen. I can bring up a big one of it.
Like how do you explain that to a fan? Like, what is the actual start finish line? Where is it scored? Is it scored at the beginning of the line?
42 back from the edge of the outer line. So I'm trying to look at a picture of trying to find something that has.
Interesting.
I'm going to zoom into it.
Is that different? Is that different per track, or is that always the same 14?
So 14-2 is from the edge of the line of. I'm looking at the checkered right now. So of the 3 wide finish. I cannot see the loop. Actually, I can see the loop. So if you look at Kyle Busch's tire, right front tire.
Yeah, I see it.
You're gonna see 2 faint lines.
Yep, I see it.
So pretty much where like the OO and Goodyear on that line right there, forward to the edge of this line is 14 feet and 2 inches. So when his transponder is in the middle of that, or the middle of that the loop, his nose should be right at that line.
Okay.
So it's hard to explain. I see the
start.
Oh yeah, it might be yellow because it's kind of throwing me off. I'd have to actually measure it.
That's interesting.
So
yeah. So and that's the thing is, like, as a casual fan, as someone that just joined in watching Netflix and got excited about this, like this is where it gets difficult because they want to understand the sport, right? We already have all these weird rules. We got these weird point systems.
Yeah.
Why can't we make a start finish line a start finish line?
It's above my pay grade.
Good answer.
Mine too.
I mean, I see the argument. I really do. But are you looking at the start finish line, or are you watching your favorite driver cross the line?
Well, at that point, it kind of was both because, obviously I'm a Noah Busher fan. And so I'm watching Busher there and I'm like, oh my God, he's finally this year. And then I'm like, I finally get to make sure that Andy doesn't win money too. Cause we have a side betting profile that we do on this thing. And
speaking of which, Dakota, I haven't been paid yet.
So I'm sitting there like, oh, okay, we're going to get a rollover. It's Busher. Like, this is about to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching it and I'm like, well, who won? 0.000 turns to 0.001. And it's just so confusing. And I kind of know what I'm looking at. That person that just watched Netflix and just joined, they have no clue. And so that's where my gripe is about the whole thing.
You guys are talking.
I think as though like even the casual fan, I don't think they get so involved in that. Like they're more like, holy shit, what do we just see?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct, Andy. That's more like that. Now people are more in depth, like with all of us who've been around it and love it.
Yeah.
When we get past the thrill of it, it starts getting why they make
Well,
this
it's like
call.
the comment just popped up. It's a small old lady sitting in the living room right now. Dude, the amount of things I have to explain to her because it is just so unnecessarily complicated for no reason. Like, and yes, I mean, yes, sure, there is a reason, but it seems like every time you see something at face value on the screen, it's like, well, let's give it a second because that might not actually be what it is or what it looks
So,
like.
you guys mentioned something earlier about I forgot what it was. I was going to comment on it, but it was about making calls. I did comment and saying that it's the only sport, it's live. There's no chance to do a stop replay like any other sport.
Yeah.
So when they make a call, and I'll tell you, I mean, upstairs, I figured my first one up there was going to be, it wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs, and it is by the rules. There's no, oh well, maybe we'll slide this time. Those guys are very transparent, very fair. But so they're talking about, so you guys are talking about something, and we can't go back and do a replay.
Yeah.
We could do a restart replay.
Yeah.
We only have a few seconds, but we can't. If something happens, like somebody spins out, you said something, Brandon. Somebody spun out. And the next time they didn't make the call to spin it out. It comes down to the race director pushing that button. And if somebody goes turn 2, he's looking instantly, oh, turn 3. Something happened at the same time, 2 different incidents, but they happen to spin the same way. Both were off the track. It comes down to, I would hate to have that job. I would hate to have that pressure because I mean, you're pushing that button to make a call that could be no call, or it could be a holy crap, he just got killed, So I mean, every call you got to treat it like he's gonna get smacked. Yeah, you ever thought that's so true.
It's so technical, and it's true. And one thing I do want to ask you too, because you mentioned the pylon earlier and how you looked at it. So the whole pylons being gone at a couple of tracks. Did you work at either of those where there was no pylon?
You haven't seen my TikToks, have you?
I might have missed it.
I follow your crap. What the hell, man?
What?
So
Unacceptable.
I'm sorry.
So where was I? They took it down to Texas. Texas was old.
Yeah,
and it was a cost over some. I heard this was just tower talk with the technicians there for scoring and stuff. Not our scoring, their people.
Yeah,
it was a cost over $100,000 just for certain little parts that weren't guaranteed to work. So what you got to do is tear it down, put it on a big house, and that's a hard because the technology is so outdated for that stuff. Nobody's built anything new for it because it's all digital now. It's all on screens.
Yeah.
So I guess there's 2 or 3 companies in the world that handle them now.
Yeah, and someone, I hope this number's fake, but I saw on Twitter where someone said a new scoring pylon, just completely done up, is like $5.1 million.
Easily, because it's all LEDs, it's all high def. Yeah. And for them, why would Texas do
I was sad
that?
to see the Talladega gone.
Yep.
That's how I found my parking spot.
yeah. That's a good reference point.
Hard to miss it.
But the pylons, so I think what was I? It's a blur to me because everywhere I go, it's like going to the circus. So it all looks the same ground. Yeah. I made a TikTok video. Accurate. Was it Dover? Yeah, it was Dover because we had one there. And I was making a TikTok and I scrolled across the field and I said, oh, well, look at that very rare pylon, because everybody's bitching about the pylons being gone. It comes down to technology and money. I guarantee it. And it's not that they don't want to spend the money because they know the fans love it. We love it. I get yelled at every time I don't refresh a damn thing and it freezes. I'll hear, refresh, and I have to push F2 to refresh it so it populates right, because sometimes it gets jammed up.
Okay.
So the pylons is nice guy wants the pylons. It comes down to the money. It comes down to the technology.
Yeah. Well, and I hope they do, because the biggest thing when they said just look at your app, my heart sank, because I don't know. I mean, obviously, I know you have track Wi-Fi, John, but I don't know, Brandon. Do y'all have track Wi-Fi to where you can actually like?
Hell no.
No, the truck teams don't have Wi-Fi.
Okay,
Oh,
so I
man.
mean, it's
Xfinity
impossible.
neither.
It doesn't work, and they keep talking about the fans in the stands. That's great. Us fans on the infield, we get the shaft on a lot of things. I would love to be able to talk with Marcus about the difference in the atmosphere from the infield to the stands, because me and Andy, just in security, being where we should be, have been harassed multiple times where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
hey, you can't be here. You can't get back to where you just came from, even though we let you out here, because nobody communicates with one another.
Yeah.
I will tell you,
Is 90%.
we run into that, and I have an NDZ, no drive zone exempt. I
Yeah.
go where I want. I can go anywhere. If I have to fix something, I'm going.
Yeah.
Besides, I can't go on the track. It's the only place I can't go. And there's
I
times
just
where
need-
security's like, no, you can't go there, blah, blah, blah. I just go, I go by them.
Yeah.
And was it 6 years ago? We're in Phoenix, and I shot through. We had a broken loop. And I shot underneath the stands, come around to go to like L7 or something. And there was cops, sheriffs, and they had dogs and wands and stuff. I blew past them all because during the race, got over there, and next thing you know, I had 4 ATV or 4 side-by-sides surrounding me, screaming at me. ATF, sheriff's department, they were checking for, bombs and stuff on vehicles.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got my butt chewed out so bad for that.
Well,
And
see, now I know I'll just hide behind you, but the problem is I'm kind of large too, so I get spotted very easily.
you and I will be one big target. I think Andy will be okay, or Brandon.
Andy
I
can
just don't know
hide.
how David sneaks his way in.
Well, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I've
Okay.
never.
You told me in person.
Yep. Good job.
I don't care what you do. Just don't get hurt. and don't get
He's not security.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't come back to bite me.
but no, I mean that's awesome. Thank y'all for joining us too. I mean that's great to be able to kind of talk about this more in depth and get an understanding, because I know I was confused, and even reading all the stuff from Gluck put out a lot of stuff. Freaking Bob, all of them put out a bunch of
Everybody has.
information. Yeah, everybody put out information, but none of it. I didn't really understand it. And now that you've
It makes
explained it the way
sense.
you have, it makes a lot more sense, because I looked at that camera and I'm like, this camera's garbage. Like, this is like a
That's a very,
720p.
very expensive high def camera.
Yeah. And so now it makes more sense. I get, because when you zoom in on something, especially when you're uploading it, like if I send a video from my phone to somebody that's a Samsung user, it's going to pixel the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Well, Denny said the same thing on his podcast, like not to like spoil anything, but he said the same thing is like, why can't we get better cameras? Like, he didn't
Those are-
understand it. He was like,
Yeah.
but,
The drivers don't understand.
yeah, Travis or Jared, one of the two, they were like, the camera was set up was the same thing they used at the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. I think Travis.
Probably they're high def.
That's what they
They're
said.
designed. So they're designed for like swimmers.
Yeah.
That's not those. But I know I heard those cameras that we used to have were designed for the swim system, where there was a flash touch where those guys would touch the wall under, real quick.
Gotcha.
They touch the wall fast and the car passes the line. If you think about it, your brain can't process that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. At the speeds
So-
these cars are moving, I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And that's what they talk about actions too. He said, the horses aren't moving as fast either. And it's true, they're not. The cars are moving dramatically faster. So
And it's a two-tone color room. It's brown dirt and a brown wall. Whereas us, we have colors on the wall. We have
Brown
so they
horse.
yeah, the brown horse. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You can see a black nose. All the cup cars have a black, the front clip, the black fascia. They have a flat nose. Then they have a
And
wall.
the shadow.
Yeah.
And the shadow under the splitter. Yeah.
And it was
So
a night
it's
race, too.
really hard to see that. So that's why when the camera operators, I'm no camera expert, and I have two of my buddies are the camera guys who've been part of all 3 wild finishes.
Yeah.
When they calibrate those things, I mean, there's no room for it to err, but it's designed to, the wind can move it. It stays on that fixed point on the wall, which then draws that line straight down across the track. So, there's X amount of wind where they had to take him down. I think it was Las Vegas. It was windier in hell. We took him down at night, and he had to recalibrate. I felt bad for him because he did it 3 days in a row, and they keep recalibrating him. It takes him a couple hours. So,
Yeah, I'll stick to my job.
well, I think that's all the questions that I have. Andy, you got any more for the guys?
No, I mean, I did more than answer questions. I really appreciate both of you guys coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I have no problem jumping on. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about anything that's going to get me fired, but
Yeah.
Because
I might.
we enjoy being able to talk to community, and we haven't really done it where we brought in people from outside of our NASCAR little friend group that we have. So this is awesome because we get to get information, we get to see what this means, and again, the big thing for us is sharing this, what you can't see on TV, to the fans. And I think this is a great way to do it. The information you just provided, the information that Brandon provided, that's just maybe that inspires someone else to become a fan, watch, pay attention a little differently. So thank y'all for coming on. Really appreciate it. We'll definitely have you back on.
Absolutely.
And Brandon, staying away of trucks.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, go back this weekend.
For driving, not hugging, sir. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thank y'all very much. Let's go ahead and roll our still new-ish outro.
Hell yeah.
I haven't seen it.